Put yourself in the war room in Indianapolis right now. The clock is ticking, the pressure is absolute, and the Colts are staring down one of the most agonizing, high-stakes quarterback dilemmas of the entire 2026 season. They are standing dead center at a franchise-altering crossroads. On one side, you have the raw, earth-shattering electricity of a physical marvel, a guy whose ceiling literally touches the stratosphere. On the other side, you've got the clinical, methodical, cold-blooded execution of a seasoned veteran who guarantees you a stable floor. This isn't just a battle for a starting job, okay? It's a fundamental clash of football philosophies. Do you risk everything on limitless potential, or do you play it safe with proven stability? Today, we're taking a deep dive into the absolute pressure cooker of the Colts training camp. Every single throw is being dissected, every read is magnified, and the immediate future of an entire organization is hanging right in the balance. To truly wrap our heads around the gravity of this situation, we've got to look at what just unfolded under the bright lights of the preseason opener against the New England Patriots. In just the first half alone, Anthony Richardson threw for 145 passing yards. Now, I know what you might be thinking, it's preseason, defenses are vanilla. But 145 yards in a single half is a massive, unmistakable statement. It immediately sets the scene of a high-octane, explosive offensive flash that had analysts across the league sitting up in their chairs. When Richardson drops back, the ball just explodes out of his hand. We are talking about a velocity that very, very few human beings on the planet can actually replicate. And those 145 yards, they weren't just simple little checkdowns or screen passes to the flat. They were a showcase of intermediate and deep-level command that instantly reminded everyone exactly why he is still so highly touted. But here's the thing. The passing yards are only half of the terrifying equation when a defensive coordinator has to scheme against Anthony Richardson. Add this context to the mix. 53 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown, all in that exact same condensed first-half time frame. This right here highlights the sheer, overwhelming, athletic dominance he brings to the field. When the pocket collapses, he doesn't just awkwardly evade pressure or throw the ball away, he becomes a dual-threat absolute nightmare. He takes busted, dead-in-the-water plays and turns them into demoralizing, back-breaking runs. Think about it from a defensive perspective. Watching a quarterback casually pick up 53 yards on the ground while simultaneously stretching your secondary vertically through the air, that is the ultimate unsolvable problem. It forces a defense completely out of its comfort zone. You have to assign dedicated spies, you have to fundamentally alter your coverages, and your linebackers end up second-guessing every single pre-snap read. And that brings us to the massive, multi-million-dollar question of this explainer. It's the question echoing through the halls of the Colts facility right this second. Is Anthony Richardson still harboring undeniable top 10 NFL talent? Or are we looking at a player whose potential has already peaked within this specific offensive system? This is not your average sports radio debate. This is a franchise-defining crossroad. The reality is, the NFL simply does not afford infinite patience to anyone, not even to physical unicorns. The margin for error is razor thin. As the 2026 season looms right around the corner, the Colts are realizing they can no longer afford to operate entirely on potential alone. They need certainty. And what we are watching unfold in Indianapolis is a desperate, incredibly tense search for exactly that. Okay, let's dive into the context here and look at the Anthony Richardson arc. It began with absolutely monumental expectations when he was drafted 4th overall back in the 2023 NFL Draft. And you know the deal. When you take a quarterback in the top 5, you are explicitly tying the jobs of the general manager and the head coach to that kid's right arm. Through 2024 and 2025, the league witnessed exactly what was promised on the scouting report. We saw unbelievable flashes of brilliance, but they were completely intertwined with severe, frustrating growing pains and undeniable injury concerns. His developmental curve looked like a volatile roller coaster, constantly testing the patience of the entire organization. Which brings us to August 2026. This preseason opener against New England, it wasn't just some meaningless tune-up game. It was a highly scrutinized, high-pressure audition to prove that the roller coaster had finally steadied out and that the 4th overall pick was finally ready to consistently conquer the league. Section 1. The preseason flashes. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the absolute heartbreaking dichotomy of his performance. Picture the stadium lights glaring down, the crowd buzzing, Richardson standing in the pocket looking incredibly poised. During portions of that game against the Patriots, he looked like a franchise savior. He was driving the ball with command, manipulating defensive backs with his eyes, making high-level reads. The boom side of the ledger is literally MVP-level production. Look at this, 11 of 14 passes. That's a blistering 78% completion rate, 145 passing yards, 53 rushing yards, and a touchdown. But then you look at the bust side. An interception that completely killed a drive's momentum, and a fumble that just handed the football away. This perfectly illustrates the excruciating tension of his play style. The boom plays are so spectacular, so jaw-dropping, that they trick you into ignoring the bust plays. But the reality of the NFL is that in a tight, late-season divisional game, a single interception in the fourth quarter will instantly end your season. It's a terrifying tightrope walk for a head coach. You have to ask yourself, how much total chaos are you willing to endure just to access that level of brilliance? But those specific positive flashes are exactly what provide the Colts with the enduring hope that he can still be a transformational starter. Let's break down these high upside traits because they are game changers. First, his explosive open field running ability. This isn't just about picking up a few extra yards on a scramble. It fundamentally breaks the math of an opposing defense. Because you have to account for him as a runner on every single snap, it inherently weakens coverage downfield. Then you pair that running threat with drive-changing arm strength, the ability to just flick the wrist and drop a 60-yard bomb right into a bucket, completely flipping field position in one single play. Finally, analysts noted a really crucial development. He showed signs of settling into the offense with actual command. He was operating within the structure of the play rather than just relying on backyard football instincts. When these three traits sync up simultaneously, opposing defenses are virtually helpless. Section 2. Hitting a developmental ceiling. In the National Football League, physical traits only buy you so much time. Eventually, you have to put it all together. And we need to transition away from the highlight reel for a second and look at the immediate impact of the darker, far more speculative side of the news emerging from the sports analysis world. While those physical flashes we just talked about are undeniable, there is a growing sentiment among evaluators that something is stalling out behind the scenes. I want to impartially report on a very strong piece of speculation that surfaced via Yardbarker and TWSN following this game. The quote reads, "For Richardson, the upside is still there, but it is clear his development has reached a ceiling in Indianapolis." Now, let's be explicitly clear here. This is source-reported analysis. It is not a definitive, proven fact handed down from the Colts front office. However, we have to discuss the immense gravity of such a claim circulating in the league ecosystem. For analysts to publicly suggest that a former fourth overall pick has already maxed out his potential in his current environment, that is a massive indictment. It suggests a deeply fractured developmental ecosystem. And this brilliantly illustrates what analysts believe is required to actually unlock his top-tier ceiling. They point to a prescribed new situation, built on three specific pillars. First, entering a stable offense. That means a system where he isn't being asked to play hero ball on 3rd and long every single drive. Second, establishing a strong running game that is totally independent of his own legs. A traditional punishing rushing attack forces linebackers to step up toward the line of scrimmage. What does that do? It creates massive throwing windows over the middle of the field for a young, raw quarterback to easily exploit. And third, pairing him with a highly creative play caller, someone who designs easy, high-percentage completions early in the game to build his rhythm before taking those massive deep shots. These three factors act as the ultimate safety net. The heavy implication from this analysis is that without these three foundational pillars operating at an elite level around him, a raw quarterback with Richardson's specific profile is at severe risk of flaming out entirely. So this intense speculation immediately forces a wildly uncomfortable reality for the Colts organization. Think about it. If they secretly worry behind closed doors that Richardson's development is indeed stalling out in real time, right as the regular season is rapidly approaching, they have to pivot. So who provides that immediate stability? Who steps into the breach to ensure that a highly talented roster doesn't completely waste a year waiting for potential to finally become production? Well, the answer to that question is currently waiting quietly right there in the wings, and he's putting together a highly compelling case of his own. Section 3. The Daniel Jones Factor. Let's move away from the stadium lights and flashy broadcast cameras to see how this builds, because a legitimate controversy is brewing in the gritty, unglamorous reality of training camp. While the media is out there endlessly debating Richardson's ceiling, the Colts coaching staff is meticulously grading the daily execution of Daniel Jones. When you bring in a veteran who has actually started and won playoff games, you aren't just bringing in a friendly mentor, you are explicitly bringing in an insurance policy. Fast forward to day 11 of training camp, the team returns to the Grand Park Sports Campus in Westfield, Indiana, and they move indoors for a highly structured, hour-long practice that is specifically focused on red zone situations. I want you to really think about this contrast. They are moving from the chaotic, open-field improvisation of a live game to a claustrophobic, high-pressure, incredibly detailed indoor environment where the entire field shrinks to just 20 yards. In the red zone, raw arm strength matters far less than anticipation, pinpoint timing, and the ability to read complex coverages in a split second. And in that absolute red zone pressure cooker, the reports coming out are crystal clear. Daniel Jones executed with surgical precision. Operating against a very strong Colts starting defense, Jones threw multiple touchdowns during this highly critical session. Now, this isn't just some minor camp note to brush past. This is a massive development. Why? Because red zone efficiency is the exact counterweight to open field explosiveness. In the NFL, you can drive the ball 80 yards down the field with incredible jaw-dropping athleticism all afternoon long. But if you turn the ball over or take a critical drive-killing sack inside the 20-yard line, you lose football games, period. Daniel Jones providing a steady, veteran, methodical performance in the most condensed, difficult area of the field proves that he can run this offense exactly as it's drawn up on the whiteboard. He takes what the defense gives him, he processes the field incredibly quickly, and most importantly, he finishes drives with points. So now, the Colts brass are staring directly at this 2026 crossroads, and it is a severe, almost paralyzing organizational dilemma. It's a literal choice between two extremes. On the left, Richardson's limitless physical ceiling and explosiveness. On the right, Daniel Jones offering red zone execution and veteran stability. It's a fascinating risk-reward scenario. If Richardson clicks, you might win a Super Bowl. But if he doesn't, you suffer catastrophic turnovers that derail your season. Jones might not ever throw a 60-yard laser on the run while dodging two defensive ends, but he will keep the offense on schedule. He will manage the clock, and he will absolutely protect the football. So what do? Do you risk early season losses for the sake of Richardson's long-term development, potentially alienating a veteran locker room that desperately wants to win right now? Or do you play the safe veteran, effectively admitting to the world that your franchise cornerstone isn't ready, potentially shattering the kid's confidence forever? It is a fascinating lose-lose choice if handled incorrectly by this coaching staff. Section 4. Unlocking Top 10 Potential. So the crucial point is, we need to scale this story up to see the big picture. This local training camp battle in Indiana is entirely connected to the broader landscape of elite NFL quarterbacks. Because, let's be honest, the ultimate goal in today's NFL isn't just to field a competent, middle-of-the-pack starter. The goal is to develop a top 10 elite quarterback. Because without one, you are simply making up the numbers in the postseason. To crack that elusive top 10, Anthony Richardson must check 3 absolute non-negotiable boxes. First, he has to drastically improve his throwing accuracy. Completing 78% in one half of preseason football is great, but can you do it consistently on a freezing 3rd and 6 in late November when the game is on the line? Second, he has to prove long-term physical durability. Your greatest ability is your availability. A quarterback who's constantly nursing injuries from a highly physical play style simply cannot be the foundational rock of a franchise. And third, he must eliminate catastrophic turnover problems. Look at guys like Mahomes, Jackson, or Allen. They all possess immense physical gifts, for sure. But they survived and ascended to the top tier because they eventually mastered these 3 technical and mental hurdles. Richardson's raw talent, that only gets him to the starting line. But we absolutely cannot forget the ultimate prize that makes this whole frustrating, agonizing developmental process worth it in the first place. As the Yardbarker analysis noted, his combination of arm strength and open field explosiveness gives him top 10 potential still. That right there is the golden ticket. Beneath all the mechanical flaws, beneath the growing pains, the fumbles, and the interceptions, there is a generational, one-of-one talent hiding in plain sight. If the Colts can somehow figure out how to unlock it, if they can build the exact right system, endure the inevitable bumps in the road, and get his mental processing speed to catch up with his phenomenal physical tools, they will possess an unstoppable force. A player that the rest of the league will literally spend a decade trying to defend. That kind of upside is so intoxicating, it makes walking away almost impossible for a general manager. And yet, the clock is ticking loudly in Indianapolis. As Week 1 approaches with absolute, ruthless speed, what will the Colts' ultimate offensive strategy actually be? Do they bet the house on Anthony Richardson's ceiling, accepting the chaos, accepting the turnovers, and the potential for a stalled offense, all just for the chance of catching lightning in a bottle? Or do they pivot to the calculated, predictable safety of Daniel Jones, prioritizing immediate stability, red zone execution, and a higher floor, at the massive, terrifying risk of stunting their young phenom's growth? The stakes literally could not be higher. Their jobs, the locker room morale, and the trajectory of the franchise for the next 5 years hinge entirely on this single, monumental decision. This is exactly the kind of high-stakes, behind-the-scenes drama that makes the NFL the greatest reality show on earth. And we are going to be tracking every single development of this story as it unfolds. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on deep dives and analysis like this explainer, you need to subscribe to the NFL Nexus channel right now. Make sure you hit that like button to support the channel and get down in the comments. I really want to know your thoughts on this. Do you start the high-ceiling rookie and live with the mistakes, or do you go with the safe veteran to win now? Let the debate begin down below. And hey, if you love this premium documentary-style analysis, consider supporting us even further by becoming a channel member today. Until next time, keep your eyes on the gridiron.